Hi, everyone. Welcome to New England Cannabis Convention in Portland, Maine. That's right. NECANN has a very strong Maine connection with the various principals, Mark Shepard and friends, involved with Portland, Maine through their lives, and they always look forward to running a show here in the Portland area at the Portland Sports Complex. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media and the host of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. But one of the things that I love about these shows is you find unique people with great stories about their cannabis story, whether it is cannabis has saved my life, cannabis has changed my life, or in many cases, cannabis is our business. And it fits exactly what we're looking for. So, with that in mind, I want to bring in Mike Everett from the Stoned Moose in Bethel, Maine. Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
Tell us. Now, this, first of all, you're a dispensary. Come right over here. I want to make sure that we got you. It's more about you now than me, okay? I want to make sure that we got the name of the dispensary is?
The Stoned Moose.
Where is it?
It's in Bethel, Maine.
On the way to?
Sunday River.
That's a ski resort. Right.
Correct.
And a golf course that I golfed on many moons ago when it first opened.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know this, but I actually spent 11 years in Portland, Maine at the CBS television station, Channel 13, WGME, working with the legendary Kim Block and Frank Fixeris. So I love coming back to Portland. But Mike, let's get back to you and your story, okay? What is so special about your dispensary? And you told me already that you have both adult use and medical.
Yeah, we have the Stoned Moose as our adult use medical recreational facility, and then the Moosehead Farms is our medical facility, and they're both on the same location. We also have a 6,000 square foot state-of-the-art grow facility on the thing. We also hold an adult use manufacturing license. We stay pretty busy at the area we're in. Our dispensary's a little different. We've got moose smoking joint in there. We've got an 12-foot carved moose out front.
All right, now hold those thoughts, because I want to make sure people have just heard what they thought they heard. Yes, he has carved. You have carved, or you have an artist carve?
We had an artist carve it out of Pennsylvania.
Fair enough, but you built your dispensary.
We built the entire facility, correct.
Tell me about the challenges, the journey. You guys told me, I think you came from Colorado, and here you are in Maine. And both states are legal states accepting of cannabis, but it's always a journey. It's always a battle to get that license, to get that door open, and to get that commence operations green light from the various state commissions. Yes. Walk me through that whole journey.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a Maine native. I was born and raised here, and I moved to Colorado in 1980 and then back to Maine in 2016. We went through a 2-year process in Bethel just to get the town to vote on if we could even have cannabis in town. Mm-hmm. So that took 2 years of Wednesdays of my life and 2 years of every other Tuesday of my life dealing with the town, ordinance review committees and everybody. And we opened up medical to begin with. And then when adult use come on, we applied for those licenses and permits. The town wasn't an issue at that point because we'd already voted all the ordinances in. The state process, everyone thinks it's real tough. They go hire lawyers. We did it all ourselves.
Can I ask you, any idea what kind of hours or man hours or female hours, whatever it was, that took to get those applications done?
We did it in about 3 days, getting it complete and submitted to them. And then we probably had another 2 to 3 days with them asking questions and stuff. I mean, we had a 90-day wait in there before they even touched it, but once we got it, it was fairly simple. And then we also have a cultivation license under adult use, and once we had that one first, so the other ones came easy.
When did you open your adult use?
August of last year, of 2021. Yep.
So a lot of this stuff, did a lot of this stuff happen during the pandemic?
Yes. Yep.
Well, it kept you busy, I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, our medical store was open, but adult use has kind of taken over. Our original medical store is 2,000 square feet, the big store. Then we built just a small 400 square foot one for adult use. We changed those buildings around about 2.5 weeks ago, just because the adult use, I had 20 to 30 people standing outside at a time.
Wow. Wow, that's great. I've heard its sales are going very well in Maine.
They are, and we contemplated shutting down the medical side, but we have a lot of good patients that rely on us, so we decided to push on with that also.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot, that it is a medicinal product. This is a plant medicine. You have to learn how to use it properly so you can get the benefits out of it. Isn't that right?
Yes, correct.
And it affects everybody differently. That's the biggest challenge, right? Oh, yeah. Everybody talks, it's an indica. No, it's a sativa. No, terpenes steer it to tell you which way it's going to go. So don't let those labels fool you. Am I doing okay?
Yeah, the THC labels kind of, that's
what sells.
That's what sells, but that's not what really the cause and effect is at the end of the day.
Correct.
Now the technology's around, they're starting to realize it's the different terpenes and cannabinoids in it and stuff like that. Because I got marijuana that's 17% that'll get you as high as the 30 all day long. So
and to me, that's really the big question. When I say, hey, is it any good? I don't know, it gets you high. I mean, that's all I care about, really. I mean, certain people have a low bar, let's just say, when it comes to expectations.
And we have like sleep chocolates that have 3 times the amount of CBN in them. That's basically the thing in marijuana that gets you tired, so we sell the heck out of those. People like to sleep.
By the way, one of the biggest problems in America is sleep-deprived adults. Right. And CBN, which is the magical cannabinoid, as Mike said, is the thing that you should be looking for in your cannabis or your tinctures or your sprays or whatever you use to titrate, whatever you use to get it in your body. Are you still, now that you're there, has the town come back to you at all and said, you know what? You guys have been doing great. We really like working with you. We thought this was going to happen. We thought that was going to happen. Am I right or wrong?
They've done a complete 180 on it. I mean, I walk into the town office, what do you need? But we help back with the community a lot. We also employ about 16 people with full-time jobs up there, decent paying jobs. And we've actually got a pretty good rapport with the whole community. Even people that were against it before, now they don't have any issues.
And you guys are a craft cannabis dispensary, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Now, for those who follow this, the multi-state operators are the ones that have really gotten this business going, but the craft cannabis growers, the craft cannabis sellers are the ones who are producing all the award-winning stuff for the most part that's out there.
Yeah, and it's, we've only got a 6,000 square foot facility, so it's easy to control, and, I've had bigger facilities in Colorado, and they get out of hand in a hurry.
What's the biggest challenge with a bigger facility?
Well, personnel is the big one, and then you got pests and everything. It's the bigger you get, the harder it is to control. That's any type of business, and it's especially true in the marijuana business because you may have 8 or 10 people that can control a 6,000 square foot facility all day long, and then you step up into a 20 or 30,000 square footer and you got 18 new people. It takes years to work through the correct ones. So you see quality, production, and everything go downhill. We're at a point where I've learned my lessons. Don't outgrow much more than you can sell in this business in your own store.
Well, that's a lesson for the industry.
That's a lesson for the industry, yeah.
Because we know that, there's been a lot of overexpansion in Massachusetts, a lot of dispensaries. Same thing is going to happen in New York. Same thing is going to happen in New Jersey. It's just the element of this industry.
And we watched it, went through it firsthand in Colorado, and it took a few years. Maine, it's happening 2 to 3 times as fast.
Faster.
Faster. Oh, yeah. You can go to Portland or Lewiston and stand on one corner and see 5 or 6 dispensaries in walking distance. They won't all make it. That's a given, and I don't know. Me and the wife just figured that they'd weed themselves out, Advice to a lot of people, don't take a lot of debt. That's another thing.
In the market way, man.
No. We're a debt-free company, so we'll survive anything they throw at us.
That's fantastic. What is your plan in the future? Are you planning on selling out, growing, getting old? What are you going to do?
Don't plan on selling out. It may go to our kids. We got 3 daughters and a son, and my son does a lot of my building with us. Like I said, we built our stores by our hand. We built our cultivation facility by ourselves.
How'd you come up with the stone moose? Come on.
Me and the wife were sitting on the porch one day when we were getting high, and a moose come walking up through the yard and walked right over to us, and that was Moosehead Farms and the Stone Moose at the same time. So
that is a great story. And now you already said, you teased, you have an artist that actually carved the moose with a joint in his mouth, right?
The one carved doesn't have a joint in his mouth. The one when you walk up onto the deck, we got another 6-footer up there, and he does have a joint in his mouth. He looks realistic.
Did you blow smoke in the moose's face when he came over to you? Come on.
We tried to. It was a big bull, so.
Mike Everett from the Stone Moose.
All right,
great,
thank you.
so much for, and that's in Bethel, Maine. So if you go or the word is skiing. That's a sport with two little things. You go down a mountain. If you go to Sunday River, you're going to drive right by your place, right?
Yeah, you can't miss it. We're the first building on Sunday River Road.
Worth the trip, right? Hey, we're going to have more interviews from the floor of NECANN in Portland, Maine. After this, don't go away. This special edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young continues after this.
As a broker, we have access to many cannabis carriers. So I will go in with 2 or 3 quotes for people. The quotes might be $20,000 for one, $22,000 for another, $17,500 for another. Pretty close among the 3. What I tell people is it's not the pricing, it's what's included and not included, meaning exclusions. An exclusion in layman's terms is just something that's not included. It's not on the menu. So it's just not included. But if you don't know that, if no one shows you that on page 71 of a 150-page policy, you're not going to know. No one knows. I never met one person that says they read an insurance policy. If you do, I got some property in Florida for you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the very special edition of In the Weeds at NECANN in Portland, Maine. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media. And again, one of the things about this cannabis industry is you find interesting ancillary products that are involved with the industry. And I walked by this fan, and I started talking to this guy, Steve Cote. Is it Cote or Cody?
It's Cote, not Cote.
Cote? No, it's Cody.
If
It's
Steve
Steve
Canada, it'd be Cote in Canada, but it's Cote here.
That's right. There is an influence of the French Canadians in Maine, right?
There certainly is.
All right, tell me a little bit about the Heatcraft item that I'm looking at here. What the hell does this do?
What the hell does this do is a great question. So people are very familiar with Heatcraft that are in the refrigeration world. We're known for walk-in coolers, walk-in freezers, from small-scale convenience stores to large, giant facilities. And one of the things that makes our product unique compared to other products is that you walk into any store, you'll notice that ice cream has to stay in the cold in the middle of winter all the time, right? You have to keep products because you'll lose product.
I thought there were only 2 seasons in Maine, July and winter.
Sure seems like it. So we've taken that, the ability to run constantly and never shut off, and put it into the cannabis world. So this here is a medium profile evaporator. We also make large profiles that are probably another foot higher than this. The beauty of these, we'll turn it on real quick. Not that you guys will be able to feel it because you won't, but just a quick demo of it.
Whoa! See? That's called embellishment. That's very cool.
That's one of the things that guys like about this a lot, the growers like about it, is the fact that it moves tremendous amount of air. It moves your CO2 around a lot. Guys will actually have this in favor to hit the plants too and bend the plants to give them a little more stable construction when they grow, things like that. The simplicity of it is really what I like about it more than anything.
So the application is for grow houses, indoor grow houses more than anything else.
Yep.
And how is business going with this, fledgling industry in Maine and in the Northeast?
It's been fantastic. We're seeing continued growth every day with this. We're doing a lot of it in California as well, and it's just one of those things that's just taken off. We're excited about it.
And I love the fact that there are other applications for this fan in other industries that are now looking at cannabis and saying, you know what, we can probably open up a good revenue stream from the cannabis.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So we've been doing this for refrigeration world, for HVAC contractors. They will tell you Heatcraft has been around forever. We've been doing it forever. We're based out of Georgia. We're nationwide, and we distribute throughout the whole country, in Canada, and then some. So
one of the biggest issues, I don't know if you know this about the cannabis industry, is the energy consumption of indoor grows. Yeah. In Massachusetts alone, everybody knows this stat, 10% of the electric grid is now being consumed by indoor cannabis grows in Massachusetts.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that. I believe it because I've been to some of the grows in Massachusetts, and there's some big boys.
That's right. So I wonder, and again, this is one of the things I have with the industry, is there a way to power this unit without using traditional electricity? And I'm obviously going to the solar or the wind world. Is there any application? I know I'm probably putting you on the spot. Get the CEO on the phone. Will you please let me ask him? All right?
To power this through?
Yeah.
I mean, wherever it needs power.
However you get power.
You need power to run it, period, right? It's the same. It's the same as anything. The differences compared to a traditional, like a mini split application or a regular a ducted system, is just the fact that it's really simple. Simple controls outside that are robust, tried and true, and been around for years. The air movement, the simplicity of this. So
Maine people love simplicity.
I like it. I mean, because here's the deal. I put on my technician hat. I was a technician before I got into sales. You want simple. You don't want something that an HVAC tech's going to take hours and hours to troubleshoot and find out what's wrong with it. Because let's be honest, everything breaks.
Okay. We all know that. Hey, Steve Cote.
Yeah.
From north of Old Town, right?
That's right.
There isn't much north of Old Town in Maine other than Moosehead Lake, right?
That's right. There's not much up there. Bunch of trees.
And that is the furthest I've ever been north, is Orono, the University of Maine back in the day. So good to talk with you. Heatcraft is what you want to do to cool your grow. We'll have more from the NECANN show in Portland after this. Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the New England Cannabis Convention Expo in Portland, Maine. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, walking the hallways, if you will, the trade show, and I come upon a guy and also a product that had that magic word in it. If anybody watches our shows, you know how important alternative energy resources have to become. So we've got Arch Solar, and this is Tony Kieffer, their president. Tony, thank you so much for allowing me into your booth.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me about what is so unique about your product.
So our product is a hybrid greenhouse, which means that it's a warehouse type building on the bottom, but it's a naturally lit cultivation facility. So what's unique about it is it uses about 25% of the electricity, and the capital cost to get into the game is much lower than an indoor facility where you have chillers and all that expensive.
And it is more environmentally friendly if it's taking up less electric draw off that electric grid, right?
Absolutely. And from a standpoint of cultivation product as well, the natural light is full spectrum, gives you higher terpene values. Our product that comes out of is about twice the terpene percentage of a normal indoor grow.
Oh, now that's
quality. Yeah, so you got quality, you've got less carbon going into your product, and you've also got the ability to pass that savings on to the dispensary or whoever your final patient is.
There you go. And so, how did you come into the greenhouse world?
So we started to look at sustainable year-round agriculture and integrating renewables into actually growing here in the Northeast. About a year into it, we went to a show like this, and all of a sudden, the cannabis growers were like, "This is what this is what I dream of at 4 a.m. Could you do this for cannabis?" So we then did our second generation, for cannabis, and then a third generation greenhouse. So we've been slowly evolving that, and then actually integrating all the systems that need to go into it as well. So it's a turnkey platform as well.
I think it's really interesting with all these compliance issues and regulators and all the rules that really constrict this industry, make it very, very difficult to be in it, let alone start it and sustain and survive it. But before you even thrive in it, you have to survive in it first. And I'm big on why isn't one of those compliance issues, limiting the electric draw on the grow facilities, making them to go to solar or a hybrid option like you? I bet you'd like that kind of regulation.
Well, Massachusetts actually has some limits on it, and they're thoughtful in how they've gone about that. So either you're capped at, I think it's 36 or 40 watts per square foot, or you have to have renewables. But they're in the forefront. Not the rest of the rest of the country is not in the forefront, and really it's being driven more from the CFO standpoint, who's seeing, okay, prices are down to 50% of what they were before. Electricity in the Northeast was up to 23 cents last winter.
It's going up again.
And it's going up again.
Yeah.
The standard offer in New Hampshire is 46 cents for the winter. So, if you're doing that and you're having to pay for all artificial lights, all HVAC, and all dehumidification to keep a facility operating, that's 3 to 4 times more what you'd be spending in a hybrid greenhouse.
There you go. So that's why the hybrid greenhouse can pretty much own a good piece of this market. Do you have some sales goals here, Tony? What percentage of the market? I know you're probably like 100%, but I mean, where are you now? Where do you like to go?
As a company, we started in the Northeast. We now have projects from Hawaii to Puerto Rico, Michigan. We've got over 250,000 square feet of hybrid greenhouse in operations across the country. I think for us, we've gotten into the multi-state operator market in the last year. We got a large facility I can show you some pictures of as well, if that's something.
You want to show some pictures right now?
If you like.
Yeah, no, and we're going to get copies of them, so this makes sense. So I'll just hold the mic and you walk me
Can we
through.
see here?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You're going to send me these images,
Yeah.
and exactly right.
So what we've got here in this is a smaller craft facility, 5,000 square foot, for sort of a craft cannabis grow. And what you can see is we've got the flower room on the right, and then a veg room. This is under construction. And then going into the facility itself, kind of how we go about building out the facility for lab space, fertigation, et cetera. So it all comes in a turnkey sort of product. So that's an example of our, smaller type facility, all self-contained, all compliant, for that size grow. On the other hand, we also do larger size grows. This project here in Michigan is 60,000 square feet for a private multi-state type of organization.
So we have a very good connection in Michigan. He's the executive director of Normal. He's my Michigan correspondent on our weekly news show, Rick Thompson. Where exactly is that facility?
So this facility is in Vassar, Michigan. It's an old automotive engine plant, or actually I think it's a foundry that was laying dormant, purchased by the owners. And what they've been doing is doing the environmental reclamation, and it's now a massive campus. They've got 2 6-bay cultivation facilities, and then there's a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility right in between, and another 6 bays. So it's a total of 57,000 square feet of cultivation that's got automated Dutch palletized systems, so the tabletops actually move around automatically throughout the facility and come to the people that are working.
Robots?
Working it. I'm sure they'll have planting robots in there as well.
Very cool. This industry is so fascinating to me because there's so many little parts, but respecting the environment, understanding the indoor grows are taking so much energy out of that electric grid. And now you've got a product, you've got something that can combat that and make it a lot cleaner, more efficient. And I got to ask you, is it more expensive than traditional greenhouses?
Than traditional greenhouses, yes, it is, because how we build them, the amount of systems that are involved is a lot more capital intensive.
A traditional greenhouse has no power, and it's just solar. Yeah. It's just the sun and the outdoor, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's where I was going.
And so with ours, we have basically solid walls that are insulated, and then we also have the automated light deprivation. We've got the climate control. We've got automated systems that are basically reading sensors and determining how much feed should go into a plant at a given time based upon where it is in the day, how dry its substrate is, and it's all automated. It runs off the phone, and you don't like what you see, and you can change it right there. Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's Tony Kieffer. He's with Arch Solar. How do people get to Arch Solar? I'm going to guess archsolar.net. Ooh, archsolar.net. Don't forget that. And don't forget the special edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young on the floor of NECANN continues after this.
Weed Talk and In the Weeds are two productions of pro-cannabis media supported by Revolutionary Clinics, one of the top medical cannabis dispensaries in the Massachusetts area, now with 3 locations in Greater Boston, 2 in Cambridge and 1 on Broadway in Somerville. Rev Clinics has a patient-first mission. They will customize your needs as a medical patient with the proper titration and combination of strains, flavors, and products. Rev Clinics, where the patient comes first.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the special edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young on location at New England Cannabis Convention. We call it NECANN here in Albany, New York. And this booth happens to be across the way, if you will, from our pal Rick Linney from Accounting Buds, who, if you do watch our network, you've probably seen him on thousands of times. But when you're across from a network, you get noticed. And I met this gentleman, David Sandelman, at another trade show in New Jersey about 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
See, time flies. That was a while ago. That was probably at least 7-8 months ago.
I have no idea what day it is, so welcome to my world.
Yes.
And by the way, a fellow entrepreneur. Tell me about what you guys do and why you are shaking up this industry, David.
We've taken a whole new approach to drying and curing. Up until now, when people were doing drying and curing, legacy, they would hang the plant in a dry space, whether it was outside or in a room with an air conditioner or a dehumidifier, and they had to get it just right. If they pulled the flower out too soon, it would be wet. It would wind up in a bag or a container, and they had to burp it and let the moisture out, or they wound out with mold.
Hang on a second. You could burp weed?
Oh, yes.
No, you can't. What?
It came, yeah, when a Tupperware, remember you used to burp the Tupperware? That's where it came from, burping the container, letting the air out.
Okay.
But I ask people, you burp it in Florida in the summer or you burp it in upstate New York in the winter, it's going to be a very different burp. So,
And I learned something. That's great.
it all depends, like where you do this, when you do it, you are a victim of the environment. So we turned the whole thing upside down. We created the perfect environment. You put the flower in, and then it dries to the perfect moisture content, and now it's curing. You don't have to move it out of the space. You don't have to guess when it's ready or not, and it just comes out amazing, sticky bud. And now because you have the right conditions, you leave it in there, and now you really are able to cure the flower. And now you can start thinking about a cannabis flower like a fine bottle of wine or bourbon and how it gets better with time and age.
Look at that smile. You know what? He knows what he's talking about. He has been in space for a while. How did you get into the cannabis space? Because I'm going to guess that the background, tell me a little bit about the background and how we got to this point in time.
It started with cheese.
Of course it did.
So they've been making cheese for hundreds of years, but they would make a particular cheese in a particular region at a particular time of year. So if you think about it, you would make cheddar, and you'd make Romano and Emilia Romano. And 200 years ago, you wouldn't dream of making cheddar in Emilia Romano or vice versa. Now people want to make any kind of cheese, any place in the world, any time of the year. So they struggled with where they were aging the cheese. So we developed a technology for cheesemakers so that they can make any cheese anywhere and replicate the conditions of an aging room. It worked. We have hundreds of cheese facilities throughout North America. That then led to charcuterie, dry aging meats. And then we said, will this work for cannabis? So we built a small unit, which is now our home unit.
When did you do this?
The small unit, probably about 3 years ago, was the first prototype, and we gave it to a grower, and he said, this is the most amazing flower I've ever produced. And then we thought we were onto something, and we made a couple more, and now there are thousands of them out there, and people love it. We then scaled it back up to large commercial size, like a cheese aging room, but now these are rooms for drying flour, where people are doing 1,000, 1,500 pounds at a time into rooms. We have places with multiple rooms, big grow operations, and they're producing some of the finest flour the industry has seen.
That's a great story. And by the way, One of the most amazing things about this industry is running into people like you that have had a background in another part of the world, another application, if you will, and then have adapted it to this new opportunity in cannabis. I'm amazed at some of these stories. It's really fun. Do you enjoy being in the cannabis space now?
Oh, it's great. 5 years ago, if I told me I was standing at a weed show, I'd go, "You're crazy." And here we are, at a cannabis weed show.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
As a broker, we have access to many, many cannabis carriers. So I will go in with 2 or 3 quotes for people. The quotes might be $20,000 for one, $22,000 for another, $17,500 for another. Pretty close among the 3. What I tell people is it's not the pricing, it's what's included and not included, meaning exclusions. An exclusion in layman's terms is just something that's not included. It's not on the menu. So it's just not included. But if you don't know that, if no one shows you that on page 71 of a 150-page policy, you're not going to know. No one knows. I never met one person that says they read an insurance policy. If you do, I got some property in Florida for you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young on the floor of the New England Cannabis Convention here in Albany, New York. And yesterday, I got to learn how to pronounce the word microbial with the accent on the right syllables. Well, today, we're going to go check out this booth over here that has an antimicrobial element to it. Come on, we're going to meet Deb Peris. She's over here with Steri Rad. Deb, thank you so much for joining me here.
Hi, good morning, Jimmy. How are you?
Good. And we don't need to talk about last night because it was a lot of fun we had.
We're not going to talk about.
We're not going to talk about last night. All right. I do want to hear about the Steri Rad and what antimicrobial treatment actually means.
Okay. Well, Precision xRay is located in Madison, Connecticut. We've been in the medical field for over 20 years using these systems on the research side. And when cannabis industry started to grow, we found a new market for us. So using the same technology that we use for our medical devices, we started the Cannabis Steri Rad system. So what it does, it's an X-ray decontamination system for cannabis. You're going to ask, I don't know what that even means. So what happens? Cannabis is grown outdoors, sometimes indoors. The humidity, the way that it is grown is a natural environment for microbe growth. So fungus, molds, bacterias, and the states have mandated testing to make sure that the cannabis is safe for consumer use, and they want microbes to be under a specific limit. So what our system does is it cleans the cannabis from the microbes, the molds, the mildews, the fungus, so that the cultivators can pass their testing the first time, all the time.
You give a sterile shower to the plant, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's a really important thing when you're dealing with a plant medicine, because the consumers really want to make sure when they go into a legal licensed facility that the product has been tested, its quality, you know what you're getting, as opposed to the old days when we used to meet in the parking lots, let's just say. Not that I remember doing that in any way, but okay, it was. Deb, who do you guys go after? Are you looking for the growers? Are you looking for the verticals? Are you selling to multi-state operators? Or is that all of the above?
So it's interesting. So we can hit every step of the supply chain. So from the cultivators that would purchase a system to be able to decontaminate their cannabis prior to selling, we can go to the distributors that are looking to purchase cannabis from multiple cultivators. They want to ensure that the products that they're getting are safe, so they can sterilize. We can go after the dispensaries, where they're also getting multiple products from multiple vendors, distributors or cultivators, So they may want to ensure that the products that they're selling is also safe. Testing labs. So testing labs is another portion. The cultivators have to send their product to the testing labs, so they may be able to offer that service to them if their systems or if their cannabis fails test.
And you remember that who sat at our table last night? It was Chris Dalla from Proverty Labs.
That's right. That's right.
So that's a good connection for you too, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a step that the cultivators, when they're looking to build their license and build their practice, they need to build this kind of a step into their business plan to make sure that they're protecting themselves from for future regulations. So it's a really important step that a lot of people aren't aware of yet.
And there are more regulations and compliant issues in this industry than any new industry that has been this successful ever in history.
Absolutely.
And it's still a cash-only economy, which we all know has to end. Sorry, I got on the politics thing again, didn't I? I just can't help myself. Deb, it was great to hang out with you last night. Thank you so much. And again, just remember, we were off the clock. We had fun. Everybody got to know everybody, and we're still friends. And here we are doing our.
Stays in Albany, or what happens in Albany stays in Albany.
I like that. Well, I bet there's a town in Nevada we could sell that to. All right. Hey, we're going to have more of this special edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young live. All right, look live from the New England Cannabis Convention in Albany, New York. After this, don't go away.
Weed Talk and In the Weeds are two productions of Pro Cannabis Media supported by Revolutionary Clinics, one of the top medical cannabis dispensaries in the Massachusetts area, now with 3 locations in Greater Boston, 2 in Cambridge and 1 on Broadway in Somerville. Rev Clinics has a patient-first mission. They will customize your needs as a medical patient with the proper titration and combination of strains, flavors, and products. Rev Clinics, where the patient comes first.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a very special edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young on location at the New England Cannabis Convention, NECANN, here in Albany, New York. As you know, you never know who you're going to see at a trade show. So I'm walking down the aisles, and this woman, Tina Sbrega from Gardner Federal Credit Union, remembered being interviewed by us way back when this whole thing
started,
and said, "Hello, Tina, it's great to see you."
And it's great to see you, Jimmy.
How important is survival in the cannabis business?
How important is survival? We should be talking about thriving in the cannabis business. It's time. But unfortunately, Jimmy, we are seeing Massachusetts is maturing very quickly. I think much more quickly than some of the other states like Colorado. We're seeing a lot of price competition. Prices are coming down. We're seeing a lot of pressure. We're seeing a lot of operators that really are struggling to get to the finish line. So they aren't thriving, they're surviving. And, that leads to a lot more mergers and acquisitions, which we've seen the last few months. And we just hope that, this industry was meant to bring many people success and job opportunities and a new business sector that adds to the economy. And we just hope that everyone can find the wherewithal to make it through. There's a lot of individuals and businesses that are successful and they are thriving, but there's still a long way to go for the industry as a whole, I think.
And the ancillary industries too, I might add. Joining us is Melissa Miranda, who has joined you this year in tell me the role that you're playing for Lighthouse Business Solutions.
I'm the new Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, and really excited to be joining Tina and the team as we take the entity and go nationwide with it. So we're pretty excited about our future.
That's good. And look, the future is an unknown for all of us in this industry, right? We really don't know. We certainly know one thing. There isn't a lot of movement at the federal level in Washington, D.C., let alone forget cannabis, and I hate to bring up politics, but it's a fact now, right? There isn't a lot of movement on a lot of things unless it's an emergency. And yes, this country has seen a lot of emergencies over the last few years. It's not an easy thing. I'm not making it light. I'm not making light of that, all right? This is our system. It's the best system in the world. I accept it and love America. We'd love to figure out ways to find middle ground. We're right in the middle, Tina, as you know, of the debate, supposedly, on the floor of the Senate. I don't know if anybody's actually debating, by the way. They're meeting in small rooms and they're talking to each other and says, I'll give you this, I'll give you... It's all sorts of wheeling and dealing. How frustrating is it for someone in the banking business to still have to, put up with these regulations that are out there, and it's still a cash-only industry?
Cash intensive, I would say. Yes. So our opinion, right, doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong, but our opinion is that I sort of liken the cannabis industry to other high-risk businesses like money service businesses, check cashers, payday lenders, all casinos, all cash-intensive businesses that are considered high risk from a regulatory banking perspective. There's a lot of financial institutions that won't bank money service businesses because of the intense compliance requirements in terms of monitoring, preventing money laundering, reporting suspicious activity, red flags, all of that. If we had the Safe Banking Act passed tomorrow, in our humble opinion, and I think Melissa agrees with me, absolutely, it does not mean that banking, the industry, becomes mainstream and every financial institution is going to bank the industry. I don't think that there's going to be a lot, if any, regulatory and compliance relief to financial institutions. If anything, we're a little concerned that there might be more, because now that we can acknowledge that banks and credit unions are banking the industry, then the burden could be on us to even give more information about the cannabis operators. So the Safe Banking Act, you and I were talking earlier, and there's the Safe Banking Act Plus, and I said, well, we need a plus because we need some regulatory relief. When financial institutions can have regulatory relief, then we can start to see the pricing come down, and then we can start to say we can mainstream bank cannabis and ancillary businesses. But I think we're a long ways away from that.
Most of the people in the industry still are talking, the ones that know, about 10 years. Okay, that's a much more realistic thought than tomorrow, a year from now, 2 years from now, much more realistic. But think about this. In 2018, the Farm Bill passes, and nobody understood that the plant that they just made legal to farm, okay, hemp, if you will, okay, had all these little cannabinoid chemicals in it, and they didn't know that, and they didn't know how to regulate it, and here we are, holy mackerel, 4 years later, and they still don't have regulations for one of the cannabinoids in one. This is not an intoxicating cannabinoid, people. It's CBD or CBN or CBG, and if you don't know what those mean, go Google. Sorry. Tina, again, that's one of the reasons why I'm frustrated with our federal government, because here's a non-intoxicating plant that is a cash crop that they haven't even figured out how much can we put into food to make it safe. You cannot put too much CBD in a product. At this point with our research, which is a really important part of this industry, right? We don't think it's going to have any harm other than the benefits of the darn chemical. Right? This is what I see. And we want the cannabis industry to have regulations that the feds put in place. I'm not real thrilled, but can we get one? This is what I keep telling you about psilocybin. Can we get one plant medicine done first, please, before we move on to the next one. And I'm sorry I took it up because I know you have some comments about what I
was going to say, be careful what you ask for, right? If you want federal legalization, there's many things that are going to come with it. Be careful what you ask for.
A big tax, for instance. How do you view this industry? You know, you have not been in cannabis before you entered the Gardner Federal Credit Union family?
Before I entered Lighthouse, no, I was in wealth management and trust services. So it's a new industry for me, but having, had experience, let's be honest, in the past, very thrilled to be part of it. Totally amazed at the depth and the professionalism and the science, the scientists I see coming into this space, which I am so excited for. A lot of people. We were in a presentation yesterday. There was an attorney talking about some of the different benefits of the plant that he has seen for some of our veterans and treatments. I'm just so excited to be part of an industry that could be bringing some very significant and much needed relief to people on the medicinal side that we've just begun to scratch the surface on, as well as the decriminalization of it, and all of that is just, it's just really special to be a part of. And we as a banking partner, it's just amazing to be able to offer that service in a compliant way to help this business really grab hold and become legitimate. I see it in the conversations that my friends and professional colleagues ask me, as Tina said, come over to the dark side, right? Melissa, what the heck are you doing?
Some good people on the dark side. I just want to say.
Well, right, exactly. And so as people's perception of what this business looks like changes, it's amazing, and I just see a lot of really amazing opportunity and a bright future as we try to figure this out going forward. So
I think you'd articulated the challenges beautifully of everyone in this business, in this industry. And we all face this one way or another, no matter where we are. Right? I went to an NCIA membership event here in Albany a few months ago and sat down with Aaron Smith, who's still the executive director of the NCIA. And he made a very compelling speech and a great point. I really believe in what he said, which is all of us in the cannabis industry have an obligation to educate those that aren't in the industry. It's the only way we're going to get to normalization. And the more times I see things that are normal, the more excited I get about this industry. Tina, you've been there since the beginning, right? I mean, Massachusetts voted it in for 4 years ago, 4 long years ago. We are 245 dispensaries later, right? We've got a vibrant market in Massachusetts. You're seeing the great study in economics, right? Supply, demand, markets, and right? As you look back at the last 4 years of the development of this state, of what Massachusetts did, are there lessons that New York can learn from and I don't want to say mistakes, the experience in Massachusetts? Because it was not easy for that first group of commissioners to write the rules, regulate the rules, put the first licenses out there. I mean, and ran to the hills. I just want to say, no, I mean, sorry, Steve. I had a nice with Steve Hoffman a couple of weeks ago, too. It was kind of fun. But go back to my question about Massachusetts. What can New York learn from the Massachusetts experience?
So, that's a really interesting question, and it's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback and wake up and say, how could the game have been played differently? I think early on, and this is not in defense of the Cannabis Control Commission, we're just talking about how it all rolled out. So if you recall, very early on, the Cannabis Control Commission was being criticized for the delay in approving licenses. And I remember our first couple of accounts that we opened were for operators that were already licensed because they were moving from medicinal to adult, vertically integrated. And there were all of these others that were in the application process. And early on, I was like, we opened 2 weeks ago. Why haven't you opened your storefront yet? Why? And then all of a sudden we learned, oh, this might be 18 months later or 20 months later. And I think in retrospect, the Cannabis Control Commission very methodical about have 200 retail dispensaries. If you looking back and being a morning quarterback, you get why they did what they did. And it was learning too, so there were a host of combinations. You know, what can New York learn from that? It's like the Cannabis Control Commission learned from studying Colorado. We all need to network with one another and, you know, what went wrong, what would you have done differently from a banking perspective. And we were at a session yesterday, and I think there's a little frustration, and we've all heard it. We need the regulations, right? We need the regulations in the industry, and we're very happy to be here in New York and looking forward to banking the industry. But everyone in this room, whether they're going to be a cultivator or a dispensary, we need the regulations. And the regulations look like they're at minimum not going to be released until the end of this year, is what we heard yesterday. So, you know, if I had a chance to sit down with New York, I would say, let's try it. And I know there's a process. Can't really speed it up, but laying that foundation, right? You're building a house. The foundation is extremely important to have the house be erected appropriately.
I think you can understand the next statement I'm about to make. You know, the cannabis industry talks about dog years in time, right? Everybody knows it's 7. It's 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward, 1 step forward, 1 step backward. There's not going to be a smooth evolution of this, and that's why I brought up the stigma again, because we're all facing it in every form. How can Lighthouse Business Solutions help those that are getting into this industry deal with that stigma that they're going to have to deal with on a regular basis?
Well, I think having a compliant banking solution, we try to make it as normal as we possibly can, although we all know a cannabis bank account is not a normal bank account due to all the compliance. But to be able to have a normal banking account, we cannot give them a corporate credit card, but we can give them that business debit card to try to make their business transactions as normal and as fluid and as seamless as possible. Again, helping to bring that legitimacy to their business, being partnered with a company like Lighthouse, which is very well respected in the industry, I think goes a long way as they're trying to move their business forward. And we become that partner with them, right? We're really there, especially in a budding industry like New York. They're just getting started. We're that real partner to say, hey, here's where you're at along the way. You need to be thinking about this now. Next, you've got to think about that. Make sure your vendors are appropriate for your business and not trying to take advantage of you. So, you know, we're really that business partner, and we're excited to be part of it and help in any way we can.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've done a great job so far, Tina. You've been a leader of this industry in Massachusetts since the very beginning, and it's not lost on those that have been on the outside looking in and reporting and documenting the end of cannabis prohibition in Massachusetts and hopefully the rest of the country. Lastly, how do people get to you guys? I mean, I know it's Greater Federal Credit Union, Lighthouse Business Solutions. Do we have 2 different websites? Are you under the Gardner Credit Union, Federal Gardner? You know what I'm saying. Yeah. Under one umbrella? Where do we find it?
Yeah. So, a great question. Lighthouse Biz Solutions is a wholly owned subsidiary of GFA. So, our cannabis clients, their deposits and their loans are with GFA. So think of Lighthouse as being, you know, our commitment to serving the cannabis industry is the formation of Lighthouse. So every employee that works for Lighthouse, all we do all day long is talk cannabis banking. So we do nothing else. So we're based out of Massachusetts. Here we are sitting in New York. And how is a retail dispensary going to do business with us? We said, you know, it's a cash-intensive business. I'm not driving my cash from New York to central Massachusetts every day. We have clients in Oregon and Ohio, and trust me, they're not driving their cash to GFA. So regardless of where the dispensary or the cultivator or the ancillary company is working and located, we have, one, a robust set of electronic banking solutions. So when was the last time you went into your bank to do your business? So
It's a sore subject for me personally right now. Let's just keep going.
okay. So online banking, wire transfers, ACH. And then if you're a dispensary and you're dealing in cash, whether you're across the street from one of our branches or you're 1,000 miles from one of our branches, we have secure cash transportation in every state that's legal. So we will take the pains of picking up your cash with a third-party provider that we've contracted with, and that party will count the cash, make sure it gets to its final destination for crediting to your account without any delays. So it doesn't matter where you are, and we're really the servicing and the compliance arm, so that we're making sure that your accounts are being monitored, reported appropriately. Happy to say that we've processed over $2 billion. I think we're approaching $2.5 billion in cannabis deposits since we started. And
It's a serious percentage of an industry that I think is at the 28 billion level. Good job, Tina.
it is it's a lot of deposits being processed, and importantly, processed in a very compliant manner. So we've had many regulatory examinations, because you get a bullseye on your back the minute you tell your regulators you're banking a high-risk business. And happy to say that, all of those were acceptable to the regulators. I'm not going to say, they were endorsed by the regulators, because that's probably an improper term to use today. But we're still here, and we're still operating very successfully.
They used to call this the evil weed, right? Now it's the necessary evil weed because of its medicinal qualities. And that's always lost on a lot of people, especially in this industry, who are part of the culture. And the word recreational, that's out there. It's a recreational. Robitussin was given to me as a kid as a cough medicine, okay? And I noticed when I was a kid that if I took Robitussin, I got high. I'm sorry, it happens. That's why you have to show that you're over 21 now to buy Robitussin in the various CVS stores. That is a medicinal product. Cannabis is a medicinal plant product that needs to be treated the same way. And I don't know, we know there are warnings. Don't let your children get at your Robitussin because it's an adult 21 product now, okay? It's education. It's the only thing that we in the industry have a tool, a weapon to combat this thing, to explain to people that you can use this responsibly and it can enhance your wellness in your life. But don't, like anything else, extremes are not good at anything, people. Right? Yeah. It's moderation and responsibility, and you have to teach yourself or learn about that. And Lord knows, science and research is evolving, and I still maintain that's what I want to go to. If the feds want to tax it, I want it to go to the science behind this. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I'm going to share a great story with you, because when you talk about the stigma, I think we've come a long way, but I think we've got much more work to do. And collectively, we have to do that, to all of us, because it does take a village. But I'll share a story with you because I think it speaks to, how much more work there is to do. So we have a client, a veteran. Thank him for serving our country all the time. And he had a lot of health issues, PTSD, aches, pains, the whole gamut. The Veterans Hospital, he was a frequent flyer at. He was on a lot of prescription medication, and one drug leads to another, and before you know it, you're in a fog, and you can't, only another drug will get you out of the fog, and here we go. So he turned to cannabis, and he got rid of all of his medication, did a follow-up visit at the Veterans, said to the doctor, I feel great, The doctor did his vitals and everything and said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever medication we've recently put you on is working. And he said to the doctor, he said, I'm not taking any of that medication. I've gone to cannabis and I feel much better. I'm sleeping better. My mood is better. My aches and pains are better. My joints are better. He lost his veterans benefits.
Because he admitted he was taking medicinal marijuana. I think I know who this is, but I'm not going
to do.
Oh, we absolutely.
Yeah.
At every level. And I always say, in politics especially, I think in this country, we have to vote in our town elections because that's the first step. And especially if you're a pro-cannabis person or you support the industry in one way or another, is vote in your town elections. Because, for the most part, everybody votes when it's a presidential election. We see the numbers go up, right? And we also see the numbers go up whenever cannabis is on the ballot, I just want to say. Another thing that brings people out because they care about it. I really think that and starting at the town level, because there are still some towns that don't want anything to do with cannabis, So, as you said, Tina, we have so much more work to do. And I appreciate you taking the time. This was a great conversation, by the way, with both of you. And I wish you the best of luck in your new venture, as it were, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having us. Excited to be here.
Tina?
Always. It's our pleasure.
Nice to see you again. And we will continue with more of In the Weeds from the New England Cannabis Convention here in Albany, New York, after this.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.